This has Canucks fans fired up as the Abbotsford Canucks and their players continue to make history this season, helmed by first-year head coach Manny Malholtra. And the Arty Party rages on as the clutch goaltender has joined the history ranks with big league implications heading into next season. We're going to break down all that in this episode of Canucks Digest, but first, if you want to help us reach our goal of 7,500 subscribers before the NHL draft and stay up to date on all things Canucks, make sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so you don't miss a single episode. And with that, let's hop straight into the first topic of the day, which is Abbotsford is moving on. So if you guys saw the yesterday or were watching the game, you'll see that Abbotsford is moving on to the Western Conference Finals for the first time in franchise history, in their short franchise history. But this is all coming off the heels of a first season from head coach Manny Malholtra that we're going to hop into in a second. But this is the fourth year that Vancouver has had his main affiliate in Abbotsford, and they had won 2 rounds combined in the previous 3 years, and now they're heading into their third playoff series in this season, joining the Final Four along with the Texas Stars, like I said. But in the on the Eastern Conference side, you have the Charlotte Checkers and the Laval Rocket, so there won't be a three-peat for Hershey this season, as now it is time for Abbotsford to try and steal the Thunder and walk away with a Calder Cup trophy. What a cap on an incredible season that would be for Manny Malholtra to do, because in his first season as an Abbotsford head coach, he has taken this team to the playoffs, taken them past the first round, the second round, and into the Western Conference Finals, has made a lot of these players NHL ready, or on their way to being NHL ready from what we saw last season with some of these call-ups. You look at the play of Linus Karlsson, who had 2 goals yesterday. He's played absolutely outstanding for Abbotsford, and he played really well for Vancouver when he got those opportunities. Coming off of the heels of a playoff appearance in the season beforehand, he really did improve a lot. Players like Aatu Räty, he's probably going to be playing most of his games in the NHL next season compared to Abbotsford because of the splash that he made. And then, of course, we have DPD, Junior Elias Pettersson, making that jump to a permanent Canucks roster mate at this point for sure because of the splash that he made due to Manny Malholtra's fine development. And now it's leaving Canucks fans wondering, why didn't Manny get that head coaching job? Well, he's still in the midst of playing for a Calder Cup. And like I was saying, it would be perfect that if in a few years from now they move on from Adam Foote. I'm not saying already that Adam Foote's going to be a bad coach. I'm just saying that if things were to line up for Manny Malholtra to be the head coach of the Vancouver Canucks, 2 to 3 years from now would be absolutely perfect, because he'll have spent time in Abbotsford developing a chemistry with a lot of players that would be a part of the core by that point. So he would make sure that those pieces are in play, establish the chemistry, so that by the time he jumps to Vancouver, all those pieces will already be in play, along with some veteran pieces, but those younger guys will already have that trust in Manny. It'll make it a lot easier for those veteran guys to get on board because so much of the roster will already love him. Now with this, if Manny can get a Calder Cup, that'll be massive, where in his first year as a head coach, doing all these things for Abbotsford, making history for them, taking them to the Western Conference Finals for the first time, potentially the Calder Cup for the first time, and potentially winning it. What more could you ask for as a first-year head coach, where not only are you walking away with all the glory as a champion or just taking this team further than they've ever been before, but also with these players rallying behind you and showing that they're willing to bust their ass for you and they're willing to do whatever it takes to be NHL ready and be a part of this Vancouver Canucks roster. So that is huge as to why Vancouver, or the Canucks organization, brought in Manny Malholtra to be the head coach in Abbotsford, not only for his skills of what he was doing in Toronto, what his skills were as a player, but what he brought as a coach, and it's paying off in spades. But what do you guys think about Abbotsford season so far? Do you think Manny Malholtra will be a coach in Vancouver in a matter of 2 to 3 seasons, or do you think he's going to stay in Abbotsford a bit longer before another NHL team snatches him up? And do you think Abbotsford has what it takes to win the Calder? Let us know what you guys have to say down in the comments below. But that's going to take us into our second topic of the day, which is the Arty Party rages on. So Artur Shilovs has recorded 4 shutouts in the Calder Cup playoffs, and 3 of them have come in elimination games. If that doesn't scream clutch, I don't know what is. And especially when he was facing 32 shots yesterday, didn't let up a single goal. Very reminiscent of what we saw in the playoffs last year in the NHL, with Arty Shilovs' big coming out party and everybody talking about him and making him the goalie of the playoffs until Vancouver was eliminated. And then it was a matter of Stuart Skinner and Calvin Pickard taking over that conversation, and Sergei Bobrovsky. But overall, Artur Shilovs, with his 4th shutout, is now tied for the most shutouts in a single playoff season and has done so in half of the games, joining Peter Mrazek, Mikhail Neuvirth, and Frederick Cassavy. With only all those guys playing 24, 22, 21 games, Shilovs has done it in 12. Absolutely insane. And now this is coming off of the heels of a rough 2024-25 season in the National Hockey League, where he was called up and sent down on numerous occasions between Vancouver and Abbotsford. And in 10 games with the big club, he didn't fare so well, as he sported a 3.65 goals against average and a save percentage of 86.1. Not exactly what you want. In the AHL, however, he has been lights out for the Canucks, has taken his game to a whole other level in the Calder Cup playoffs, much like with the playoffs last year in Vancouver. So this is huge for Shilovs' development. It's huge for his confidence, and it goes to show that, yes, is the caliber of competition a night and day difference between AHL and NHL? Absolutely. Is the talent going to be a lot different? Are the shots that you're facing? Absolutely. And we saw that with how Shilovs' main issue last season in the playoffs was shots through traffic or redirects. Now, it seems like he's been able to just refine those tools a lot more in Abbotsford, so that when he makes that jump back to the NHL, he's not going to mess that up a second time. He's going to make sure that whatever was working against him before is now going to be one of his biggest assets, and he's just willing to make sure that he's the best goaltender that he can be. You've seen a lot of interviews with him. We know that he's a competitor. He's a gamer. He wants to be the best, and he wants to win. And that is the main measure of a winner. You gotta love to win, but you gotta hate to lose more than you love to win. And that's what we have a lot with some of these guys. Quinn Hughes is one of those guys. Artur Shilovs is one of those guys. JT Miller, while he was here, was why one of the things I loved about him was he hated losing more than he loved winning. And that's what you want to have. We see that with teams like Toronto, where, like people were quoting Shorzy, the boys don't hate to lose. That's the deal with Toronto. That's not the deal with Vancouver. These guys hate losing. This management hates losing. This coaching staff hates losing. And that is why they are so committed to do whatever it takes to make sure they can bring championships to the city of Vancouver and to the city of Abbotsford, whether it's at the AHL level or the NHL level. They want to win, and these players want to win, and that is the huge thing. However, with Shilovs, he does have a bit of a rockier road to get back into that Vancouver Canucks starting netminder job, because Thatcher Demko and Kevin Lankinen are under contract for 2025 and 2026. So Shilovs' path is blocked by them, but there's certainly a chance Allvin could use the 24-year-old as trade bait to help bring in a second-line centerman they desperately need. Now, this is something where, yes, Shilovs will be a very, very attractive trade piece. However, with the history that Vancouver has with Thatcher Demko, if anyone is going to get moved in this scenario, as much as you guys will hate me saying it, and I know a lot of you guys might agree with me as well, Thatcher Demko is the piece that you move in this scenario. I know, when he's 110% healthy, he is phenomenal. Lights out, Vezina caliber goalie. However, he hasn't been very healthy in the past 2 seasons, and that is going to be a continuing thing with him. It seems like that it might just be, and even before this past season, there was also injury issues in the past as well. So yes, this is something where Vancouver needs to be very careful, where if you're going to trade off your potentially best goalie that could be, I'm saying with Shilovs being your best potential backup goalie, I'm saying here, where if you have your best potential backup goalie and Artur Shilovs or Kevin Lankinen could take over because of Thatcher Demko's injury history, you don't want to have to go and invest in one of these other guys or go and try and pay for a big goalie like you did with Kevin Lankinen, where you could be stuck in a spot like that where Kevin Lankinen, he's a goalie 1B. Artur Shilovs, he's a goalie 1B. You don't want to have a 1B and a number 2 or a number 3 goalie riding through the rest of the season when you're trying to be a playoff team if Thatcher Demko isn't healthy. Demko's healthy, him and Lankinen, obviously a great tandem. That's what you don't touch. But in those scenarios where you need an emergency goalie, you want Shilovs to be your guy, because like he was struggling last year, he only had 10 games. But with that improvement that we've seen in the AHL this season, if he's playing in 6 games, 8 games, he's going to make sure those count and make sure that he gets a crack at even more opportunities down the line, especially with them not wanting to overuse Kevin Lankinen if Demko's still hurt, not wanting to use Demko so he gets hurt again. So there's a lot of things at play here where if the Canucks are trying to move a goalie, you move Thatcher Demko in this situation. You keep Artur Shilovs because he's so young, he has so much potential, and he continues to improve and has shown that he can play in big moments either at the NHL level or the AHL level and can be clutch. But what do you guys think about the Artur Shilovs scenario in general? Which one would you trade as a trade piece for if you're Patrik Allvin and Jim Rutherford? Do you trade Thatcher Demko or do you trade Artur Shilovs for differing reasons? I would love to hear what you guys have to say about that down below. It should be a very interesting conversation. But that's going to do it for this episode of Canucks Digest. I've been your host, Griffin. Take care.